Paul Nebrasky.
Okay, Paul, good morning.
Good morning. Taylor almost forgot about me. I was really upset.
She almost about Paul.
I
Yeah.
said you weren't here.
Here what?
Here physically.
Oh, no, he's here.
Oh, right.
In the station.
Yeah, there you go. So no Bruce for you, huh?
No Bruce for me. But you know what I did have, Frank, which is amazing?
What?
I had Frank burgers cooked for me by the goat.
That must have been me.
Yes, you did. That's right. Because here's what happened. By the way, Paul, Brian Morris here, the assemblyman.
Hey, Paul.
Brian, hi. Paul Nebrasky. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
So Stephen Keeter, who owns Sam's Meat Warehouse, when he first kind of met us a number of years ago, he and Frank would argue about what kind of burgers were the best. So Frank is like the burger genius, and he has this whole thing about burger to bun ratio. This
yeah.
whole science.
It's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stephen and Frank sat down for a couple of weeks. He only uses prime meat, so it's like mixture of brisket and other meats until they found the perfect burger. And I said to them, "That sounds good, but you got to put it on a brioche bun because they hold the meat and the juice. They're not going to fall apart. And there's a little sweetness in there. Genius, because." Stephen called us up and he's like, listen, people are coming in and saying, because they hear Frank on the morning show, they want one of those Frank burgers. So he renamed it a Frank burger.
Well, you're making me hungry, so where can I get one?
At Sam's
Brian,
Meat
I'm
Warehouse.
going
in
to tell you
Florida.
where you to get one. So Taylor and Frank invited me over to their newer house. And my wife was away, and Taylor says, well, we're going to cook dinner. And I'm like, Taylor, I don't like salmon. I know that's your favorite. She goes, no, Frank will cook the Frank burgers. You want to watch a grill master? Frank, we should have been on TV.
Well,
right?
Wait a minute, what about the rain?
Yeah, tell him why it was an interesting grilling experience.
Well, first of all, I go outside. Now, the great thing is they have a bee's nest outside. So the first thing
It's
Frank
gone
tells me
now,
is
by the
watch
way.
out for the bees.
I got
Watch
the-
out for the bees.
Yeah,
I
they're
got
buzzing
the
all over
best
the place.
pest guy for you.
They were very busy.
Okay, so first thing, I mean, that makes perfect television where I got to like fight for my life to get out to the grill master. Okay, I didn't tell Frank if I was allergic to bees or not. It didn't matter. I had to get out there and watch.
We would have found out, yeah, but and of course the deck has been power washed, so there's no there's really no finish on anything. It's like everything's in the raw outside. So we get the grill going.
We'll get the grill going, and I'm watching Frank cook these Frank burgers, and I'm watching intently because I'm like, I make these once a week for myself, and there's a certain way you got to make them. And I look up, and Frank and I are talking, and there's this black cloud coming over.
I mean, really, it was an Armageddon cloud.
Yeah, I mean, I literally saw like somebody flying on a broom, and I thought it was like the Wizard of Oz. I thought it was Taylor on a witch's broom.
Hey.
So,
oh wait.
The hamburgers are cooking. Now, the trick is they need another 5 or so minutes to go, and we just don't have it. I mean, you can see that, and all of a sudden it starts to rain,
came
right?
Down. I was in the house, just so you know.
Well, so was Paul. and so was I.
I wasn't going to say that, Frank. I was going to tell everybody that I stood out there with you in the storm. But
No.
So
I opened that door. I'm like, run for your life.
So it starts to drip, a couple of drops coming down. We run inside. The hamburger's cooking on the grill. It's closed. Right, and all of a sudden it starts to rain heavier.
And then
I go,
fire.
I gotta flip them, So I run outside, I flip them, and I'm trying to cook it enough because I know he doesn't want it raw, and I know he doesn't want it overdone. And I come back inside. Now it's starting to rain. The wind is kicking up, and I go, I'm gonna put the cheese on them. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put cheese. I go, Paul, you want cheese?
That's a dedicated grill master.
But
wow.
I did not toast the buns. I said I can't take that and lightning and everything, right? So
and let me tell you how dedicated Frank is. I'm like, Frank, don't worry about my cheese. He goes, no, they have to have cheese, right? So
There's a law.
He's going out there holding on that he doesn't blow away, and there's lightning coming down. He's putting the cheese on.
And I did it to the last possible second. I said, if they're as done as they're going to get right now, because this monsoon is really coming.
And how great was that
and
burger?
We hit
there,
it.
Paul?
They came out great.
How great was that burger?
Taylor, what did you say to me? I forgot what you said. I couldn't even answer. I was too busy eating.
Yeah,
it was great stuff. So that was a fun time and good stuff. I'm glad to have you over. And
I'm glad you're enjoying it because everybody knows I'm a vegetarian, so I can't really judge.
Nah, she has no idea what's going on.
Taylor, when you invited me over to dinner, I'm like, no, I'm not coming over to eat here.
Yeah, nobody wants to eat it, Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor, your salad looks so good. I didn't even notice it. It looks so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, nobody noticed it. It was all for you.
And Brian, there's another thing they sell. What do you have? The jalapeno ketchup, Frank, or
no,
do we have the bacon ketchup?
I had the bacon ketchup, yeah.
And they have Wagyu
amazing.
steak there.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you got to put that bacon ketchup on there. It's got to be Just right. And the funny part is, Frank and I almost started eating. We each had the wrong bun, right? We each had like a bottom and a
I had a
top.
top, yeah. Well, there's a little mass confusion going on, so we just flipped those real quick, and we were good to go. But
my God.
an avoided disaster. Had we started 5 minutes later, that would have been
you're
really
done.
bad.
Yeah. So I just want to let you know, Brian, you absolutely, when you leave today, go over to Florida, right down the road, get a Frank burger, and
Yep.
you will thank us.
Yes,
okay,
sir,
I'm
you
telling
will.
you that.
And
Everybody raves
and
about it.
sales go down this time of the year because people aren't grilling that much anymore. But you can cook them inside too and do the same thing, or go. A lot of people cook all year on their grill. They go out there, you get a nice day outside, you go out and cook anyway. So pick them up and enjoy them.
Absolutely.
And of course the other beef too. Everything else he's got there's prime grade all the time. So what's going on in the world of heating, cooling, plumbing, everything else?
Well, let's give away something first, Taylor. Okay, so I have an idea. I was just thinking as we're talking. How about this time, Taylor? We give away a $50 gift certificate to Sam's to buy Frank burgers.
Oh,
I like it.
love it.
All right,
That would be great.
I'm sure Stephen can do that for us, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he'll definitely take care of
I'm
that.
buying
Sure.
the gift certificate, but I'm sure he has them.
Oh, he does. Yeah, he does all the
Yes, he
time.
does. I still have one, actually.
How does that
Okay.
happen?
All right. So here we go. So we
Seeking
got. Here's a question today for a $50 certificate to buy whatever steak you want to buy, or
Or a Frank burger.
Oh, absolutely need to buy the Frank burger. And if you want to invite me over when you cook them, that's fine too.
Somebody texted in, my husband likes the Wagyu. Wagyu, by the way, is spelled a little bit wrong. It's a W-A-Y-G-U.
Is that the way it is?
Yeah, I
It's
believe
not
so.
W-A-G-Y-U or...
W-A-G-Y-U.
I don't know.
That's it, W-A-G-Y-U.
Okay.
His
Yeah.
Wagyu steak, I got it, and it's something you probably only afford once in your life.
Yeah.
But it is the most amazing taste in the world.
It is.
Yeah.
And the burgers, you should try the burgers too. It's a little different flavor. It's not a
Oh,
Frank
the
burger.
Wagyu burger.
They have
Okay, I
Wagyu
was
burgers
thinking
too.
the steak.
Yeah, try
it's
them.
different. I know some people like one, but it depends on the mood.
Yeah, it's got a little different flavor, because it's Wagyu beef instead of the regular,
Right,
beef.
right.
So
All right,
try
what's
both.
the question?
Oh, really? You're telling me I'm talking too much, Taylor, with Frank?
Not me. I didn't say
You haven't
you're
heard
not
Taylor
here.
this morning.
I can't torture you because you're not sitting next to me today.
Oh, Taylor, you're good at torturing. Doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah,
All right.
and she'll make
All
up
right.
for it.
I mean, I'm sitting at Rotary, and you're trying to get a hold of Frank, and I'm not supposed to be using my phone, and you're torturing me to have Frank call you
That's
On
my
your phone.
purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
on my phone.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
All right, we're gonna talk about geothermal today, guys, and heat pumps. And so the question is this: what country has the most active? Two questions, two parts. What country has the most volcanoes? Okay, what country has the most volcanoes? Question number two, part two, and what country has the most active volcanoes?
Now, this is for the $50 gift certificate to Sam's.
Right.
Is it the same country, or are you talking two different countries?
Two different countries, but the first question is really the real question. What country has the most volcanoes?
845-651-1110. First correct caller, $50 gift certificate for Sam's Meat Warehouse. Holy God, you will be addicted. There's no doubt.
Oh, yeah. Once you go
and
in there, you're not
he
gonna
has these
leave.
great things he makes up. I know you love the corn relish and the beets.
He's got jars of,
jars of stuff that are
professionally
amazing.
jarred up. My favorite
It's
is the corn
old-fashioned
relish.
butcher shop.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
corn relish is great, and the beets.
Good
the,
people. The whole family works in there.
It just
I'll be stopping by after
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, no, you can't go
Why
wrong.
can't Frank?
Just-
Do you ever grill at the station? Because
We do.
I think the winter should bring
A
them
little
over
one.
to the station.
Yeah,
you
well,
should grill them up for
we
them.
have a
That's the
charcoal
real
one, yeah.
Ryan, we have done that, right?
We have a
Yeah,
charcoal
yeah,
one.
we
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
Yeah.
We only do that, but Paul's going to get mad now. Watch. We only do that after the season, football season, and we just do it for the people who are involved in football.
Oof,
no
sorry,
press
Paul.
passes.
Well, he is a sponsor of football.
Oh, he is.
I
That's
am-
right. I forgot about
Come on, Taylor.
I am not Ryan. I am not saying a word. Oh, wait, a little announcement. Ryan, October, I think it's October 1st. I'm going to check the date right now. We are doing, for the American Cancer Society at Stewart, we're doing another plane poll. And we need
Oh.
2 more people to poll.
What
Let
day
me
is
pull-
that? What day is that?
It's Sunday. I think I don't have my calendar in front of me. I'm not in the office. I'm calling from the road. So I'll double check it. I'll have Tina send it in. You can talk about it. But we need a couple more people to poll.
All right.
Ryan, we would love you there. Be on the Nebrasky team for a great cause. And I know last time we did the tank poll, we had the computer guy's son, the Marine, came. Maybe we can invite him
No,
again
he's a
this year.
Navy guy. He's not a Marine. Navy.
Okay.
You know I'm a
Thanks
Navy
for
guy
letting
too,
me know,
right?
Taylor.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah, you got to be careful here. And Steve Newhouse is a commander in the Navy Reserves. Be careful there, Mister.
All right, so you're telling me to invite Steve to help us pull the plane?
No,
Is
I
that
don't
what
think
you're
Steve's
saying,
pulling
Taylor?
any planes. Not happening.
No, listen. I can tell Steve that Taylor said you have to help pull a plane.
Yeah,
Would you
don't
like me
do
to
that because I'll tell him it's not true, and he'll believe me. Trust me. We do have
Anyway,
somebody.
so-
We do have somebody that's called in to answer the question, so we're going to put them on the line. What's your first name and where are you calling from?
Hey guys, it's Dan from Warwick. Good
All
morning.
right, Dan. Good morning. Do you have the answer on the volcanoes? The most.
I hope so. It's not a 2-second song, but I'm going to give it a shot. Is it the United States?
I think
It is the United
Is it
States.
Hawaii?
I'm thinking Hawaii.
And Alaska.
Hawaii.
Alaska,
Alaska too. Yeah, I've been in
Alaska.
Hawaii twice, so yeah, I've seen the volcano.
We have 160 volcanoes. Now, the interesting part is 42 of them are active. Most of them are on the Alaskan and Hawaiian Peninsula. Alaskan Peninsula and Hawaii.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've been to the Hawaii a couple of times there. I had a little incident, but incredible. All right, Dan, you know what to do there, mister. You just got to email me name, address, phone number. I will get you that $50 gift certificate. I'll send it over to Nebrasky.
Awesome,
Have you
guys.
been, Dan, have you been over to Sam's yet?
I have. He's got some great selections over there for sure.
Yeah, all right, get
So-
that Frank burger.
Frank and Ryan, I have
I
a
haven't tried
question.
the Frank
If Dan
burger,
brings
though,
these
so I
Frank
will have to
burgers
give that a
over, will you
shot.
grill them up, Frank?
Yes, he will. All right, Dan, thanks so much.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All
Thanks,
right,
Paul.
bye-bye.
Appreciate it. All right, bye.
Bye. So people who know Dan is a volunteer fireman here in Warwick for many years.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah,
great guy. Great guy. I'm glad he won.
So
That's pretty
Indonesia
good.
has the most active volcanoes out of 58 active volcanoes.
Yeah.
Wow. So United States has the volcanoes, and what was the second part of that?
Indonesia.
Has the most active.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What was the geothermal thing? Was that Iceland?
Well, that's where we're getting to, Taylor.
Oh, okay.
Well, my art town, you guys talk so much, my art town always goes over.
You're so
Yeah,
busy
it's
giving stuff
us,
away.
Paul. That's it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's us.
Well,
Goes overboard.
Yeah, when you were on a week or so ago, we were talking about how countries like Iceland or Iceland in itself uses a lot of geothermal to heat, and that sounds like the way to go up there. And they're not paying that much for heating in a country where they need a lot of heat.
Well, yeah, and let's talk about that. Most people don't know what geothermal heating is and how it works. So the way it works is you don't need a volcano, even though that's what they use in Iceland. But in the United States, the ground is always at 55 degrees, either the water or the ground. So when we're taking the 55-degree heat from the ground, which doesn't sound like it's very hot, and we're putting electric to it or using a heat pump, and we're raising the temperature or cooling with it also. So it's 55 doesn't sound like a lot, but we're not using fossil fuels to do it. So I don't know, Frank, if you know how geothermal actually worked.
I've seen them do it on this old house many times. It's a very involved a process with digging a lot of wells and a lot of equipment that's
who
needed inside
described
the
it?
home.
It was on This Old House with Richard Tatui. Described the geothermal originally a number of years ago. Actually, it's the cost I think is in putting it in because where you have to dig to and all the piping and everything.
So the cost is putting it in, and there's two ways of doing it, Frank. You said it right. You can drill wells because the water is in the 50-degree range when it's down below or cool or cooler, or you can put it in the ground because the ground is 55 degrees. So just to go over what you said, Taylor, the average oil house, which you have oil in your house, it costs you about $3,000 a year in the average house to heat with oil. If you have geothermal heating, it's about $1,500 a year. So it's about half.
And what about with the heat pump?
Well, heat pump is almost the same, okay? Heat pump is very close to giving you that much savings. And now here's the really good part about it and why I suggest it right now. The New York State is giving some, and we talk about this all the time, some amazing rebates. So if you guys go to heat pump, say your personal house or, Leanne just bought a brand new house, as we talked about, a house
Right.
for her, you can get a rebate anywhere from $2,000, which is a very small house, close to $10,000 rebate.
That's a
and
lot.
for removing your fossil fuel. So it's going to really help pay for probably at least half the installation cost to put it in, depending on the job. Plus, you get a tax rebate of $2,000. So there's a very, very good reason to go get rid of fossil
Now, does
fuel here.
Nebrasky help out in helping people to get those incentives?
We actually, not only do we help out, we do all the paperwork, and we actually take it off your bill, and we wait to get paid from the government.
Oh, that's
Because
wonderful. Yeah.
That's unusual.
Yeah, and most people don't do that, and I don't like doing it. I'm going to tell you, and I don't know if I should say this on the air, and Peggy and John, if I'm sorry if I shouldn't, but we're working and just about finished with it, getting Peggy and John an amazing rebate because they went heat pump for the whole, really saving gas and fuel on their new restaurant. And the government and Orange and Rockland love that. So the rebate they're getting is amazing and well over that high mark. And I think that's important. And they're going to save on their electric bill every
Yeah,
year,
it's a
too.
win-win. Hold on one second, Paul, because Brian has to go, and I'm just a couple of things we want to touch on before he leaves. Then we're going to come
No,
back.
sure, absolutely.
Hold on.
Yeah, don't
hold
go
on.
anywhere.
Don't go
You're live
anywhere.
and on the air.
There's a question I have of Brian because we were talking about his wife and his 3 kids. How'd you meet your wife?
I met my wife. Obviously, we are from Walden, but I didn't really know her. She was a couple years younger than me. I met her when I was originally running for an office when I was 27 years old. And she donated $50 online to my campaign. I'm like, who is this? So I reached out and said, hey, thank you for the donation. You should come to this event. And the rest is kind of
His history. That's pretty cool.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love those stories.
But
You
right
know, Brian,
after. Yeah, go ahead.
I was listening to you talk about how you had mentors and you met people who knew more than you and people who came before you and you learned. And I got to say that's just wonderful. And thank you for that. That's, I started a business at 23 and that's how I learned this, by listening to the people. And it makes a great politician.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. When I was 23, when I became mayor, the first thing I did when I was running for office was say, hey, my experiences are not all encompassing, but no one's going to work harder. No one's going to love the community more or as much as me. And if I make a mistake, I'll admit it. That's literally how I ran my campaign. I didn't say, hey, I have all this basic knowledge.
And you still do that.
Whatnot. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So
And
that,
that's how I run my business 35 years later, and I started when I was 23 also. So hearing your
awesome.
story and how you did, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
and I would assume your wife made that $50 back by now. It's a good
Just with a
investment.
pair of shoes.
So-
Talk
Yeah,
about an
right.
investment, yeah.
That's
She got a rebate.
Super funny. So obviously, that's when we met. But really, what got us close together was we started the Hudson Valley Honor Flight. So that was
You
the year.
started that?
Yeah. So myself,
Wow.
Steve Nicoli, when I was mayor
Steve
of Walden.
Nicoli, right.
So Steve was a Walden resident.
Right.
And he knew I was mayor, and I was connected to Senator Larkin.
Steve's
and
not with us
so
anymore. so-
Steve came to me and said, "Hey, Brian, this is what I want to do." I said, "That sounds crazy. Let's do it. Bring the World War II veterans to DC on a flight. Great." So I recruited my sister Patricia and Becky, and the 4 of us co-founded the Honor Flight.
Wow,
And
I
all these
never-
years later, Becky and I now have 3 kids. We're married. Other people got married through Honor Flight. And over 2,000 veterans served on over 20 flights. over
So
the last
I have
few
a
years.
quick story. So we have a gentleman in Rotary, Tony Casamano, who was a Huey pilot during the Vietnam for a year. Now, in real life, people know that's like 50 years and more
Oh, yeah.
to fly that Huey. Incredible guy. Just unbelievable. You would never know how old he is. He's still flying helicopters. He's still getting licensed. He's amazing. So I went to the NAM Knights, who I work very closely with. And I said to them, listen, would you like to sponsor him to go on the honor flight? And they said, let me, the president said to me, John Riccici, we call Cheech, he said, let me put it out to my board. And like 5 minutes later, he called me and he's like, yeah, it was kind of unanimous. We didn't have to have a meeting. Absolutely, hands down. And I called Tony and he said, well, you're going with me. And I'm like, no, I cover the honor flight, both of them every year. You have a son. Why don't you have your son
Yeah,
go
it's
with
good.
you?
Yeah.
100%. And he said, well, that is really generous. I said, no, that's what I want it for, right? And his son was crying. His son called me. He was like over the moon. So a couple of months later, I get a call from Tony. He goes, you're going to love this story. He goes, I'm on a waiting list. He said, you know why? And I said, no, obviously they have a lot of people. And he said, no, because I'm too young.
So we could probably talk the whole show about honor
Honor
flight
Flight.
stories,
I
but I
love
have
it.
one more I'm going to give you. So one of
Okay.
our earlier flights, we had these 2 World War II veterans. They were 93 and 94 years old. They get on the flight, and we kind of do a roll call. We say everybody's names, and these two, wouldn't you know it, served in the 40s together, and it was the first time they saw each other since World War II in the 1940s on our honor flight plane. Everybody just started crying. We were
I just
like
got a chill
absolutely
like you
goosebumps.
wouldn't believe.
And there are so many stories like that. We took a 103-year-old female Marine veteran. We had 3 brothers that were in their 90s all go on the same flight for the first time
that's incredible.
in decades. So it's an amazing organization. So proud that Steve Nicoli came to me with the idea. So proud that, you know, my wife and my sister and we all put it together. And now Jennifer DiFrancesco and her team, they run the show and they do a great job. And we just play a supportive role. And it's amazing to start something, see it grow, and just see other people take it and own it, and it became beautiful.
It's a life of its own. There isn't a time when Ed Harrison was the head of the airport. He and I would stand in the middle of the road. I was videotaping when the NAM Knights are the lead motorcycle group, and there's 300 of them last in April that brought them in. So, folks, if you don't know, there's a motorcycle groups, Rolling Thunder, NAM Knights, a number of them that lead in the buses that bring in World War II, Korean, and now Vietnam vets. And then there's bagpipers. And I tell you, it is overwhelming. So I'm standing in the middle of the road. The rain's coming down. I don't really care. I'm videotaping, and Ed Harrison comes over, and I'm crying because it just overwhelms you.
Sure.
And he looks at me and goes, "There's no crying in news, by the way." I'm like, "Yes, there is."
So who was the one that came up with the words or the title Honor Flight?
So Honor Flight is a national organization. In 2003, the first Honor Flight by Earl Morris was given on a private plane from, I want to say, Alaska or Hawaii, one of those states, and the Honor Flight was born. So the Honor Flight is a national Honor Flight network. There's over 100 hubs throughout the country. And when Steve came up with the idea, he realized and stumbled into the national network. So he actually had the idea to do this, and then he stumbled upon his research that there's a national network, and there were 2 other hubs in New York State. So we reached out to Greg Furlong, who ran the Leatherstocking Club upstate, and he helped us get Hudson Valley started. And so we became one of over 100 hubs.
Yeah, there's one in
the
Westchester, too.
No, we do that one.
You do
so
that
Hudson
one,
Valley
too?
is Westchester, and it's all of the Hudson Valley. We do flights out of Westchester and Stewart. And then what we did, Becky and I, my wife, is we established Big Apple Honor Flight. So we actually created, the people who founded Hudson Valley also founded New York City's Honor Flight hub.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we're responsible for both those hubs.
And where do they fly out of?
JFK.
JFK.
It's a sight to see. Red carpet, New York City, FDNY, NYPD.
Oh, I got to go to that one.
You have to go to that one. It's one flight each year in the spring. I'll remind you.
Yeah, please.
That is unbelievable. So I go and I MC that one in the city too, because
amazing.
there's the site of JFK Airport. Everybody's stopping to acknowledge veterans in one of the busiest airports in the world. Is so cool to watch.
That is got to be out of control.
It is, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm sorry I have to jet out.
Yeah,
but
he has to be.
I also would love to talk about heat pumps and New York State and the geothermal push. And honestly, my question to you, and then I'll leave, is do you think, since you're in the industry, there is enough of you, due to the labor shortage, due to the people that need to do the work, to actually fill the needs and the thresholds and the benchmarks the state is putting on to make sure that we go in this direction? Because that's one thing that I know is a concern of mine and my colleagues. Do you all have the infrastructure in place to really hit those benchmarks? And I assume the answer is no. Maybe
Brian,
it's yes.
Brian, that's a great question. I am not 100% sure. I know my company does, as we've been getting ready for this, and we've been doing it for years. I think, no, not yet, but I think we can get there. Good. I really do think we can get there.
Yeah, we need hope.
You talk about, honor. I run a foundation that for kids to go into trades and help with trades. And I think as we get people more into trades and understand what we do is important, I think we will get there. I really do. And I think that's a great question, Brian.
Well, I'm going to get your number, and I'd like to work with you on it moving forward, okay?
Absolutely. And also, our America Cancer Society plane pulls October 1st at Stewart. So if you want to come pull, we need 2 more people. You and Ryan would be perfect.
Yeah, well, Brian has 3 kids, a wife, and a job. So I don't think we have stuff for the kids. It's a great day. Hey, Cal, I'm always trying. I know you are.
Let me know. I'll do my best.
I'll let Brian know, but he's got to go right now. So, Brian, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you all. Have me
Brian,
anytime.
look forward to talking to you more with these New York State incentives. I really do.
Pleasure.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go get my Wagyu burger now, okay?
All right.
There he goes. And he's off. All right, Paul, so tell us a bit more about the geothermal. Now, we know it's more money. We know We know that it can obviously save you some money, but it's not all that much more efficient than, say, a heat pump, right?
No, it's not that much more efficient than heat pump. So I don't have a problem with we sell more heat pumps than geothermal for obvious reasons. Geothermal works best in the United States on new construction,
right,
where you have a empty canvas to work with, to put the pipes underground. So it works best on new construction. On a house like yours or Leanne's or Jesse was on, a heat pump works best, where you're taking outside air. Even at 30 degrees, there's heat in that air, and they're taking that heat using electric and to heat it up instead of a fossil
Now,
fuel.
geothermal does not need a heat pump, or what other type of alternative heating do you need if you have geothermal?
No, geothermal still needs a heat pump component to it. It just works less because you're bringing in 55-degree water or temperature into it.
Right.
So it does.
All right, that's pretty cool.
Somebody texted in, "Hey, Frank, tell the story of how you and Taylor met. It's a great story." It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Another time.
We'll do that.
I was really. I have to tell you. I know it's not Tuesday, and this is my art town. But when I heard Brian say he met his wife for $50, that's a bargain. That's a bargain.
It is. She knew how to invest
and
well.
she gave him the $50. Think about that.
That's right.
Brian's a great guy. I know him a very long time since he, prior to when he became supervisor too.
Yep.
He really is there for the right reason.
Yep, he really is, and that's a
Oh my
great
God!
thing.
And I didn't realize he started on her. I mean, wow.
Yeah, amazing.
So,
Absolutely.
so here's a couple of questions though for you, Paul. With the even with the heat pump, in New York with these rebates, in order to get that rebate, you have to disable your current heating system so that it no longer will work. They don't want that as an alternative or anything. They want that out. Is that true?
As of October 1st, yes. You have not only it used to be we can disable it. Now we actually have to decommission it. We have to show it out of that basement and in the dumpster.
Really?
A lot of people were taking advantage of that and saying it was disabled, just shutting off the oil. And New York State got smart to that and said, no, it's got to be out of the house.
So is the cost? Who picks up the cost on the removal?
Oh, we do.
All right, and is that expensive to remove that or no?
No, it's really not the most. We do it anyway, Frank. So
what
say
do
we
you
were
do with
changing
the
your
oil?
boiler.
What do you do with the oil that's left in the oil tank?
That's what becomes a little bit expensive. Okay, if you try to run it down to zero, so then you can. If you want to get rid of your oil tank, you can leave the oil tank in the basement, Frank. But if you want to get rid of your oil tank, you got to get rid of it with a company who just does that.
Yeah.
And that can run anywhere between $1,000 and $1,800. Or you can leave it. Now, if you have a buried oil tank, that has to be
remediated.
Yeah, but
Yes.
listen, if you got an oil tank with oil in the basement, you don't really want that in your house if it's
I don't want it.
no use, right?
Right. Yes. So there's companies out there that will come pump the oil and decommission it. So what I tell people is to run down the oil as low as they go and get it out.
All right, now
Correct.
for all those people that have like hot water baseboard with their oil, what happens to all the baseboard heaters throughout the entire house?
Great question, Frank. It's like you're a shill for me. I don't even need to do the show. I just need to.
There you go.
You just need to have a conversation.
We miss you.
Yeah. So we just actually had a customer ask us that. It could stay or you can take them off. And generally, if you want us to take them off for you, it's extra money, or you can leave them. That's up to you.
And then when you remove them, there would probably be some construction you have. They may not have moldings behind them, or obviously it's not going to be painted
Correct.
right.
You're going to have to put trim and paint. You're going to have to put trim and paint. Most of our customers, believe it or not, Frank, they leave them, and then when they're ready to repaint, they take them off. They're only put on with screws. When we install them with screws. So you can actually, when you're ready, you can just repaint and paint over.
What about all the piping, though, that goes through that?
Well, the piping comes out when you take it. You're going to have a little bit of pipe on each side where there's going to be a small hole. So if you're redoing your hardwood or putting a rug, you can cover that small hole.
Yeah, because people
the piping comes out with it. That's above.
Oh, is it? All right. So is it expensive to have somebody like you come in and remove all of those units?
No,
It depends
yes,
on what
and
you call expensive. It's all relative.
You really have two expenses here. One is to remove it, and I know you have a
other is to
disposal
install
thing.
it.
But the other thing is, like you said, it may be through the floor, so you're going to have to patch wood flooring and moldings and,
Well, you know what?
sheetrock.
Then you contact a reputable guy like Paul Nebrasky and you find out what the real deal is.
Yeah, I mean-
A guy like you, Frank, though, who's really handy,
Yeah, I
can
can do
take
that.
your own baseboard off. You
Really?
really don't need me for that.
But can
I'm
I just
being honest.
Can I make the pipes disappear where you won't see them?
Yeah, you can.
Really?
Absolutely. The same way that Frank burger you made,
Yeah.
for me, disappeared pretty quick.
Except I don't have to do it in a thunderstorm at the time.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. And the reason I'm really like that you're asking these questions, these are the questions we get every day. And right now, a lot of our customers are leaving the baseboards up. They're used to living with them. They've lived with them 30 years.
Yeah, they don't bother me.
They're not bothering people. And what
No.
they say is, hey, one day when I go to paint or do construction, they're not hard to take off. I'll get rid of them.
Do it room by room, yeah.
Right.
Room by room, as what they've been saying. So yeah, I agree that could be more money, but it not necessarily. I would think should stop you, Frank.
And any house that has central air with the ductwork, that's a prime candidate for a heat pump, right? Because you already have the ducting in.
Yes, and generally what we would have to do there is add a lower return, because right now if it's air conditioning, you have a high return because air conditioning drops and you want to pull it. Heat rises, so we want to put a low return to bring the heat up, almost like a ceiling fan, how a ceiling fan
Right.
reverses. Most people like Taylor don't know which way to run the ceiling fan, or me. I don't either.
Very
Yeah,
funny.
and-
yeah, Paul is in our bedroom. No, that's interesting.
Yeah, wait
tell me-
a second.
When did this?
I went for a Frank burger.
When did this happen?
You were there too, Frank.
Yeah. Oh.
It was a fun time.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, we were,
Taylor, I have to go now.
well, when you got to go,
What's
you
left
gotta
of
go.
Paul? Yes.
No.
Okay, Frank and Taylor were showing me the house.
Exactly.
Can we put it that way?
Yes, let's put it that
and
way.
Taylor runs the fans in reverse because
Yeah,
she
but I
wants
don't
things
know
blowing on
how
her.
do you turn the fan the other way?
You pull the chain.
You stand up there. That's a cathedral
I'll put you on my
ceiling.
shoulders.
Yeah, good luck with that.
No, and let's talk about heating and cooling. And one of the things we tell people is if you have a ceiling fan, you want it one way in the summer, right, to pull the drop the air, and the other way in the summer and winter to pull the air up.
Right.
So ceiling fans really do help with heating and cooling. They're really a great addition to heating and
And
cooling.
the one
In
in-
Florida, you have one in every room.
And the one in the bedroom, it makes zero noise.
Right, as long as you're in the room.
Right.
Paul, tell her not to leave it run all the time when
I
she leaves the
don't.
house because it generates
Hey,
heat.
Frank?
Yes?
Frank, I have enough trouble in my own marriage,
yeah.
and where I'm going to tell Taylor what to do. I was my wife
Yeah,
just
that's
found
a
out I was in your
mistake.
bedroom. I mean, what else do you want me to do? This is supposed to be in our town, not our therapy session.
So, listen, I thought of another thing, too. The laundry room does not have an air conditioning vent in it.
Oh.
I guess they figured it was no reason to do that because it's just a laundry room. What do you do if you convert to a heat pump? Because you do have plumbing and stuff in there. You'd probably want to keep it kind of warm, right?
Yeah, small rooms like that you're not in a lot, they generally don't need much heating or much cooling. So we could put a vent in there, but your laundry room is downstairs, if I remember right.
Yes, it is.
I was in the laundry room too, by the way.
Yes,
and,
you were.
And I wouldn't worry about it, Frank. I really wouldn't.
All right. So a lot of great things and a lot of information and a good time to do it. Rebates that we're talking about end at the end of the year, Paul, or change at the end of the year possibly?
Yeah, and if rebates are constantly changing, and when the money runs out, they've been adding more money. I've been telling people on the air, your listeners on the air for the last 2 years to take advantage of these rebates. And let's listen, we pay for the rebates. It comes out of our money that if you look at your electric bill, there's actually a tax for that, like anything else, where your bill is huge, or like your cell phone bill, and we actually pay for it. So that's our money we're just getting back. So take advantage of them, is what I tell people.
Yeah, that makes sense, Paul. So if people want to get in touch with you and plumbing, heating, or cooling, or whatever it may be, how would they do that?
It's so funny. Somebody asked, I just got to say this real quick. I was having drinks with a bunch of Rotary guys the other day and women, and somebody said, well, how do I get in touch with you? You know what they said? Call Taylor. That is a true story.
NebraskyPlumbing.com.
Yeah, Nebrasky Plumbing. And Ryan, October 1st, or are you going to pull with us this year? We need 2 guys, all seriousness.
I think so. I'll have an answer for you by Tuesday, Paul.
Are you
right.
supplying
No,
the?
and bring
Wait a
one,
minute.
bring one of your friends with you.
Hold on. Are you supplying food that day, Paul?
We are supplying food.
Frank,
we have
Alright.
a table. And Taylor, when you come up to take pictures with, because I don't have a press pass, I promise you I will be there this time. I
Okay,
will
you got a
100%
deal.
be there.
You got a deal.
All right.
All right,
Hey,
sounds
guys,
great.
All right, thanks,
listen,
Paul.
always good to talk to you. I'll
Miss
see
you.
you guys on Tuesday.
Yep, see you Tuesday.
And thank you for that Frank burger, by the way. It was amazing.
Well, we'll do it again
More.
soon. Thank you.
More to
all right, I'll see you on Tuesday.
You got it.
All right.
Bye, Paul.
Bye-bye,
All right.
Paul.